podcast. Today we're here with Ilias. He's the founder and CEO of Clout Cloud, a media company once called the TMZ of the internet by the New York Times. They've thrown concerts with high profile performers, including Meg Thee Stallion, Future, Meek Mill, Snot, and much more. On their Instagram, which you can find at the Clout Cloud, they've posted the hottest topics and stories in hip hop. Illias, you're based out of Washington. You're based out of DC right now, but also kind of Richmond in the general DMV area, where I think Richmond is actually where you got started with the Clout Cloud, right?
Yeah, yes, sir. So we started in Richmond, and I just want to say, you did your research, man. You definitely read up the articles. So that's really cool. But yeah, so we started off in Richmond, and then now I just finished up school, so I came back to Northern Virginia in like the Ashburn area, and I've just been out here, and we're trying to transition into doing, I guess, more shows and events out here too.
Yeah, we appreciate you being on the podcast. The first thing me personally curious about, and I think it's definitely relevant with the times. Where's Donda? You work with high profile artists.
Man, Donda? You're telling me, man. I saw the listening party last night, and I thought it was one of the coolest things like I've seen in a while, just because Kanye West is actually the artist that got me into music. I mean, you can literally see the poster right there. But I remember when I was a kid, I used to play Club Penguin like all the time and like all these computer games. And I was listening to 808s and Heartbreaks. And that was like the first ever like album that really changed my mind and really made me realize that like music is like a lifestyle, and it's not just something that you just sit there and listen to. It's so much more than that. But I was listening to Heartbreak songs, not even knowing what heartbreak was, just bobbing my head, playing Club Penguin. And man, it's just good to see like the old Kanye come back, because I feel like, he's had a couple of gospel albums and stuff like that, and you really haven't seen the same side of him that you've been used to. And so it's really refreshing. But to answer your question, I don't know where the hell Donda is, and I would love to know.
Like, I mean, you're supposed to, he said it'd be today. You think it'd be midnight.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that too. I feel like he kind of Kanye, what he likes to do is have people to kind of like almost really fight for his music. And so look, we're talking about it right now, right? That's going to get more people to, want to check in on it, whether he drops it next week or tomorrow or whatever he ends up doing. Super unpredictable, so I don't even know.
Absolutely unpredictable, chaotic.
I was honestly like wondering, I was like, I also haven't really seen a listening party that's had this much publicity or attendance ever. Like, this is like usually, like huge events like that are like headline tours, like all around the world, or like festivals, not, like I'm dropping this album like in the near future. Like that to me is a really cool, just like he literally just broke the model in his own way. And he's really exploring new avenues for actually live music, which I'm all for, especially post-COVID.
Man, he's so good at just bringing attention onto himself. No matter what he does, his name is in a headline somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
It's always about a different thing.
Yeah, it is. It's like you can jam. There's an album for like jamming to just about anything too. Like this, you could play Club Penguin and listen to Kanye, or you could do anything.
Yeah, for real.
Do a listening party in a huge stadium with just Kanye in the center.
Ridiculous.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I saw somewhere tickets for like anywhere from $20 to $50. Like that's a deal to see Kanye live.
I mean, that's unreal, bro. I also feel like the whole world was at that listening party.
Yeah,
I was on Instagram. I saw every single story, just like Kanye in the middle of the stadium. I'm like, damn.
Super Bowl, just totally out of the blue.
I know. One point I did want to get across, though, speaking about his gospel music, I think the reason why he did that was because Kanye is all about building his legacy, right? And he's always trying to push the boundaries and strive for making like I guess timeless music. And what's more timeless than religion? Religion has been here for like a really, really long time. And so now he's incorporating his music in the gospel music that will never fade away. Like 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 years from now, Christianity will still be here. There will still be churches and stuff, and you can still play his music. And so I think that's one of the reasons why he did it. And I mean, it's going towards a good cause. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a really interesting. Yeah, I haven't thought about that at all, but I mean, I know for like Jesus is King, like I'm not personally a religious person, but having a music background, I actually really enjoyed that album. I know that's kind of a hot take around some people. But I mean, like that was a total 180 for him, but he still kind of put his twist on like a lot of like religious like lyricism and kind of like song structure.
Yeah.
And not really growing up listening to church music or gospel at all, I still actually really liked it. And to me, that's a feat in and of itself. I mean, he can bring people who have never experienced that music into a space where they can enjoy it in a new way.
I agree, bro. I'm Muslim, and I thought it was hard. You know what I mean? I've never listened to gospel music before. I thought it was hard. So yeah, props to him for that.
Yeah, no, he made it.
That's wild.
So I'm curious. We talked about Clout Cloud a little bit earlier, like just kind of like your background in it. But I mean, we're really curious here, and just kind of want to hear more. Like, it's such an interesting story, having like looked at all the articles and just the stuff that you guys have done, and like your story, man, coming up from VCU, just finding your own path. Like that's not really like a normal thing. I feel like it would be really cool to kind of just like, if we could dive in.
All right. Well, I mean, I guess there's two different stories we could tell. One aspect of TCC is more like the content piece. And we started off with like the blogs, and then we have another big part of Clout Cloud, which is like the events. And those both have like their own stories. So with the origin, I guess, of like the brand and the company, it started off as a clothing brand, and it was called Basics Clothing with BA6IX. And I've never said that on any article, podcast. So this is an exclusive for y'all. So I thought that would be pretty cool to share. But the logo of the company was actually a sheep, and the sheep kind of looked like a cloud. And so I think it was 2017, and I was like, man, everybody and their mom has a clothing brand. They go on Instagram. Gymshark was going crazy at the time. Yep. I think Fashion Nova started popping off either around that year or the year afterwards. But even like everybody in like my hometown, bro, they all had clothing brands. So I was like, all right, well, I can't do this, but I am aware that social media is a vehicle that can help you take your brand from A to like not even C past Z. You know what I mean? And so I figured, you know what? I've been seeing that a lot of people are starting to transition into digesting or even like taking in news through social media. So in 2017, you saw like a lot of people coming in and like getting their news from Twitter or Instagram. And that wasn't normal beforehand, but it was almost lacking in like the hip hop space. So you saw it like in the mainstream media where like CNN and all these other big outlets were coming on using Twitter to go ahead and spread like a certain type of message or whatever was going on around the world. But you never saw it in hip hop. There was only like 3 or 4 outlets that I knew at the time that were really big, that were covering on, Lil Xan or 6ix9ine or all these stupid clout rappers at the time that were going crazy on the internet. And so now flash forward to 2021, man, there's like 1 billion clout pages, 1 billion rap news accounts. It's like so oversaturated. But back in 2017, like I said, that's when 6ix9ine was going crazy. That's when XXXTentacion, they were building their careers on social media antics. And obviously, if we repost that content and not a lot of that content is being shared, that's going to push the algorithm in our favor. So that way, we could have a post on XXXTentacion getting into a fight. The next day that gets like 20,000 views. You know what I'm saying? And that's exactly what happened. So we transitioned from a clothing brand to posting about millennial news, whether it be anything Gen Z related or millennial related, like crypto, fashion, investing. And then once we posted that video about XXX, it got 20,000 views the next day. And I was like, yo, this is crazy. Like, people just love tuning into what he's doing. And we posted about 6ix9ine. Another video goes crazy. That does like 50,000, 80,000 views. And at the time, man, we were getting like 5-6 likes on like a post. And so to see that, I was like, man, this is insane. Like we would spend like hours trying to come up with a post, like doing research and like posting up a blog. Whereas like now it's kind of crazy because we just literally post like 1 sentence for a caption. But back then, man, we were so committed. Like we literally like spent every single hour of our day, like just researching constantly. And so that's what we were doing. We were just giving people news on what was going on with some of these artists that were, very, very controversial. And once we saw that people like tuning into X and 6ix9ine and all these other artists, I was like, man, this is what I like. So why would I not post more about this? And then we suddenly transitioned into only posting about these types of rappers. And as you guys know, X had a crazy blow up. 6ix9ine had an insane blow up, and we were able to cover their story from beginning to start. So if you even go to the beginning of the account, you can literally see the timeline of how their career started until where they are today now. And that is the blog portion of it. And then we eventually transitioned into a hybrid of like meme / news type content. So, because like nowadays you just see so much news on your account and all these outlets are just posting like news all the time. And it's just so boring. So we try to add like a little bit of our own flair. One person that takes it to the extreme is Hoodville, which I don't know if you guys are aware about. But they're also like a rap news account, but they go fully into like the meme image of the whole thing. And I think they're really cool, but we're kind of like right in the middle. So we're always coming with the facts, trying to inform you on what's going on, but we want to add a little bit of humor into it as well. So it's a little bit more interesting. And then the second aspect of it was the events. And as our platform started growing by posting a lot of content, we got reached out to by Moneybag Yo's team when they were like throwing a show out in Richmond. This was out in like 2018 or 2019. And that was actually thanks to somebody named Elmira. So she's actually focusing on her singing career, and she's no longer involved like with the brand anymore. There's no bad blood. It's just, she graduated and she, she did what she did with our brand, helped us put us in a position to, work with Moneybag Yo. And so she made the connection, let them know like, hey, we could help you guys out, promote your concert. We got a really big following online, and we think that we could help you guys sell some tickets. And it was funny because I'm not sure if you guys know Main Stage, but they have a specific type of crowd. And so when we started marketing that show, a whole different crowd came in. And the owner was so shocked. He's like, what is going on? Like, this is you guys? I was like, yeah. He's like, and I guess he looked at us. He's like, man, these are like 20-year-old kids. Like, these are just VCU students. How is this even possible? But it's because we built such a niche following for people that liked a certain type of music that even though we didn't have, 10 million followers or 5 million followers or whatever it was, we were still able to bring out a lot of people. And for those who are listening back at home, like one thing I think that's really valuable for people to, really kind of tune into is the fact that like, bro, you don't need 100,000 followers. You don't need 300,000 followers to, monetize your platform or to chase whatever you want to do. You could, if you like cooking lobster or shrimp or whatever, you could literally make a shrimp cooking channel. And if you have 10,000 subscribers, you could make some shrimp seasoning. And if those 10,000 subscribers all cook shrimp, you could probably sell that shrimp seasoning to 25% of your subscribers, and you're still making a decent amount of money. But
sure.
I feel like I'm getting off topic now, but what I'm trying to get at is basically that we had a very niche following, and it ended up working out really well. And so we developed a relationship with one of the venue owners. And then over time, we started doing more and more events, kind of coming in, doing some like marketing work with some bigger artists. And it got to a point where we had like 30 people on the team. So it's not like these were like employees or whatever. These were just a lot of my friends or friends of friends that were coming in. They were helping out with the podcast or writing blogs on the website. But the thing that I didn't realize was that we were trying to grow so big and do so much that it just didn't end up being super efficient, which is why we later ended up cutting out everything and just focused on the blogs. The content piece and the event piece. But we end up getting to a point where we have this DaBaby Lil Baby show, and we were going to help them market it. We were going to interview DaBaby and Lil Baby, had a full media pass room, like get media passes for the whole team, be on stage, all that crazy stuff. Yeah, we're super excited, promoting it on campus. We brought on a lot of people for the street team, handing out flyers every single day. And then we get a call that, DaBaby canceled and Lil Baby couldn't make it either. And so I was like, bro, at this point, if we're marketing the shows, why don't we just throw our own? And so we went from working with DaBaby and Lil Baby to doing something in my backyard. So I was like, all right, so we're gonna do a local show in my backyard. And so
right on.
I don't even think it matters if I say this address, but my old house that we did this show at was 1711 Idlewood, and we did it in the backyard. We got a couple local artists and artists that I was managing at the time. So aside from what I do with Clout Cloud, I should have said this in the beginning. I'm also a talent manager, so I manage talent, and then I'm also a marketer, and I'm currently working with Gold Media Agency. But I was managing an artist, and I said, you know what, let's put on a show for him because I feel like, like I said earlier, we've done so much to market other shows. Why not start building up our own? So we did something in our backyard, and I had this crazy idea that we could combine EDM and hip hop together. And so I just recently got into EDM at the time. I used to be completely against it. I was like, I never want to listen to this.
Mistake.
Yeah. And then, and I gave it a chance and I really liked it. But the thing was, I thought everybody else would be the same as like I was. So we get this EDM DJ. It was my roommate at the time. And I have him do like an EDM set. People are coming into a rap show to support rap artists. And the first thing they hear when they come in there is EDM. So they're super confused. And they were like, what is going on? People are leaving. They think it's like a disaster. They hate it. And so we only have like a couple people stay. And I think throughout the whole night, there's maybe like 40, 50 people that stayed. And right as my artist was about to go up, shout out to my boy Pedro. Hold up, my mouth is dry.
Shout out Pedro.
Shout out to my boy Pedro because the cops ended up coming because we were too loud. And right before he was about to perform, the cops came and people were pissed, man, because there were some people that drove like an hour or 2 hours away. So on top of the EDM music and the main headliner not being able to perform, I was like completely embarrassed because a lot of people came up to me and they were super pissed, because they spent a lot of money on an Uber to get there because it wasn't close to campus. It was like 10, 15 minutes away.
Yeah.
And so I was like, man, I'm never doing a show again. I'm going to just stick to posting blogs, and doing like promo, that'll be it. But then one of the artists came up and he saw that I was literally just sitting like on the stairs, like just by myself, like on the phone, texting people like, yo, I'm so sorry. It didn't work out, blah, blah, blah. And he came up, he's like, bro, what's wrong? And I'm like, man, you know what's wrong. Like, look at what the hell is going on. He's like, it doesn't matter, how many followers you have or what you do on social media, whatever you do on the internet, the fact that you were able to gather like 40, 50 people here today, whether or not it was a great show is still miles ahead of what you could do online. And so it's like, okay, you know what, we'll give it another chance. And then we ended up throwing another show at one of my friends' houses. Nicole, she ended up letting us use her house. And man, we killed it, bro. The next time we came back, we had like, I think 150 people there. And man, it was so much fun, bro. Were you there, Thomas?
I was gonna say, I think I might have been there.
You were there. And then so everybody just kept coming up to us. Like as I was on my way to class, people kept coming up to me and they're like, yo, bro, you need to throw another show. Like that was so much fun.
Yeah.
And like as much as we've done like online or like, the I guess partnerships that we've had with some of the bigger artists, I've never had people come up to me and say stuff like that. And so it showed like, if you throw a local show, it's more intimate and people have like a greater emotional attachment to that because they feel like they're a part of it. And like when they're mosh pitting or like, getting lit in the crowd, they are a big role in that show. Whereas if you're in like a concert where there's like 80,000 people, bro, you're just standing there with your phone in your hand with the flash on. You know what I'm saying? Just trying to put on your story. You're not as involved. But we ended up throwing another show like the week afterwards. And it was super cold. We were afraid that like nobody was going to show up. We doubled it. 300 people came on. Like the stairs were overflowing. People were going nuts, man. And there's another story I might get into another day. But we technically were not supposed to throw that party. VCU got involved or whatever. And they said, yo, you guys were being super loud. A bunch of neighbors were complaining. And the thing was, I went and knocked on every single person's door that lived like within the area. Like I'm not talking about like just one street. I'm talking about like the street to the left of them, the street to the right of them. I was like, there's no way that this thing is going to get canceled tonight because we wanted Pedro to perform so bad. And, he was finally able to perform at the one prior and we wanted to bring on somebody else. And we brought on Alex Phoenix, who actually knows my boy Phil, who is also a part of the team. And he said, listen, man, Alex Phoenix is somebody that I know. He's my pledge brother. I think he'd be a great fit for the show. And so when we brought him on for that third one, like I said, it overflowed. So many people came out to support him and the rest of the people on the lineup. And it did really well. And so then a week later, we got reached out to by another venue owner. His name was Clay. And shout out to him because he's the owner of Poor Boys. And he's been like a huge, huge help to everything we've done, like show-wise. And he reached out to us saying, hey, man, I see what you guys are doing. Like, this is cool. You guys are doing it in a backyard, but do you want to do it in a venue? I was like, in a venue? Of course, let's do it in a venue. So then a couple months later, we planned to do it in a venue. And that's when we added Zay. And you know Zay as well.
Yeah, 1K Zay.
And a combination of him, Pedro, OK Cozy, and a lot more artists that we had on the lineup. I think we did around 350 people at that show. And it was a great turnout, bro. I think to this day, although it wasn't the biggest, I think that was the most fun I've ever had and the greatest turnout, man. Because it was the first big performance for a lot of artists, so it was cool to see them like transition from performing in my backyard like 5 months ago to now
Right.
performing at like a real venue, and then after that, we did DMV Revamped, where we partnered with Pusha T and Airwave Music Group, and we brought out Shorty Shorty and. Y'all should cut this out because I should know who the headliner is. But fuck, Shorty Shorty and who else did we bring out, man? Shorty Shorty and
Pressure's on.
man, is this even my brand? Shorty Shorty and Cutiful. So we brought Shorty Shorty and Cutiful to the Songbird Theater, and that's a very well respected venue. And we were able to work with some great people. And man, it was so cool because this was our first ever like virtual show. And so like nobody in the DMV had ever done something like this before. And it was cool to get like a collective of, artists like Band Hunter Izzy, Young Crazy, and, the type of artists that we've never been able to work with before because, we've been able to work with like a Moneybagg Yo or like a Meg Thee Stallion, but we weren't able to book them ourselves. So this was our first time booking like some big name artists aside from like local artists. And, we did that, and then we partnered with Lil Yachty's team. They brought us on to go ahead and do another virtual show. And that was more of like a psychedelic experience. You just get on your computer, and like it was really cool. You guys can look that up. Just look up. I don't know the Night is Young. The Night is Young tour. And that was a really cool experience. We got to work with them. And then now we got this festival planned in the end of August, and it's sponsored by Monster Energy and something I've been, trying to build up to for like the past 4 years. So it's a very humbling but very, very exciting thing for me and very scary at the same time.
I mean, I remember when I first met you, like we were just talking about like Richmond stuff. Like this has got to be before COVID, maybe like fall 2019. And I was like showing you a beat I was working on, and we were like talking about Richmond stuff. And then you were like, yeah, man, like my end goal is to host a festival. And like just to like now to like talk to you, and it's like, yeah, like it's crazy, happening, man. It's crazy. Coming up, like that's huge. And I mean, I'm happy, so happy for you. I mean, this is like such a huge story just in the making and like still going. I mean, and there's so many things I wanted to talk about too. Like, I mean, I think especially in Richmond, right? Like we're not a huge headliner city, at least like, compared to like your Atlanta's, your DC, New York, LA, like it's hard to attract big names here. And I think some people in that space then are like, okay, well, like, I guess we have to just like settle with some certain level. But I mean, you guys really found like the community here that was like, a bunch of college students or college age people that, it's like there are house shows that exist. There are venues that, as you saw, wanted to have those artists play, but you guys kind of like were that community and kind of connected those disconnected parts. And I mean, that's really impressive, man. That's not an easy thing to do, to just, step in there. Yeah.
I mean, that was the most exciting thing about the whole thing, is that I feel like when I came to VCU, there was never a thing for, a creative who was also interested in business, or somebody who was more involved in like the behind the scenes aspect of the music industry had like a lane to go to. And so like when I first came in here, I was like, well, I don't want to be an art student. I want to be like an art/business hybrid student, because I like tapping into my creative side, and I want to throw events and, be involved in like fashion or like, making clothes and stuff like that. But I also want to be able to learn the art of being able to sell it. And I feel like, this is something we spoke about when you created the Music Industry Club, which I think is like a huge, huge thing for people like in the VCU community or just in Richmond in general, because that kind of like bridged the gap in a sense. And so now it's cool because like I'll see like incoming freshmen like DM me, and they're like aspiring like A&Rs or like photographers, videographers. Man, to be like yo, that's we're huge. That platform, or we're that for them. Like, man, it's so humbling and so crazy at the same time. And I wish that, I had something like that for me. So one thing I'd recommend to anybody listening to this is like try and create an environment if there is no environment for you. Because I wanted to be involved in the music industry, but I didn't know how. So I created something so I could attract people instead of me having to chase people.
it really connects back to something I actually learned from a marketing class. It's I think it's called the value proposition or value proposition statement. Like that, it was, I think like marketing 301, like your most basic class you can take. And I was a music major taking it too. But like, I was like, this is such a basic concept of just, like a statement, like a 2 or 3 sentences of why you're valuable. And like, I don't know why I hadn't thought about that before, but like value can really exist anywhere. It's just about how you can, I guess, articulate why you're valuable. And I mean, just thinking about that, for me, that totally changed everything. That's why the music industry club became a thing. I was like, there's a need, there's a demand, and there's a community. And I mean, you definitely did the exact same thing on a larger scale, more, and like you were talking about before with how anyone can, create a YouTube channel and then build a product and then kind of leverage the momentum from their socials to, then generate money. I mean, like it's just value. It's about building that. And that crossover is definitely really interesting. I know an interesting example is like the Nelk boys. Like they went from just prank YouTube channel, kind of like just a not really, I mean, it was like funny, but I mean, prank YouTube stuff never really like is consistently great content, and just turned it into an empire. Like it's insane.
They are killing it. And the craziest thing is that they have that cult following, they are making so much more money than you guys even think. Like just because they have like 10 million followers, like, oh, well, they might make this money. No, they make double or even triple that, because people treat like their drops like it's supreme now. Like people resell their stuff. And so, they're killing it right now. And I see Steve will do it. Like I've been watching his videos. I just got done watching a video where 6ix9ine just gifted him like a McLaren. And I'm like, yo, what is going on? I remember when he first joined the team, like, cause I've been watching them for like 5-6 years. And when, Nelk first started off, like they used to come in to like a different city, let's say for like, LA, for example, and they're from, Canada. They'd come in to do pranks there to try and like reach out to a bigger demographic and, connect with some more people. And they couldn't even afford like a hotel, man. They would literally just put something up on their story. Hey, we're out in LA. Can any of our fans like give us a place to stay tonight? And so now it's so crazy to see that, and then to where they are now, man. They won't ever have to be put in that type of position.
Did you see? Go ahead.
I think that reminds me of a story that when Giannis was a rookie and somebody driving to the game, he didn't have enough money to get a taxi to the game, so somebody had to drive him. Same deal. And now he, champion.
Now he's getting 50-piece nuggets at Chick-fil-A.
Now he's
got to get a lifetime deal.
Got to get the lifetime Chipotle gift card.
Yeah, for real.
That is crazy though. I mean, yeah. And Ilias, there was another thing you were talking about too, like with one of your earlier shows. I think you were saying at Nicole's place, you were saying like the audience is a big factor. And that's for me, I don't know if it's just me, but I've always been like interested almost in like the science of audiences, if that makes any sense. It's a big thing, like now with like YouTube and like data analytics and stuff. That is, you're analyzing your audience, but no one really does that for a live audience. And it's like, for me, like, I don't know, I always, my memories of concerts are because most of the time how the audience reacts. And if that's a function or in part because of how the artist, like some artists are really involved with the audience and some are just doing their own thing and people are vibing. But like, I mean, the more you talk about it too, I think that's just such an interesting thing to look at, like small shows can be awkward as hell, but they can also have a really awesome, just like audience vibe. And that just got me thinking about that,
dude. Because I saw myself analyzing it a lot, so I would sit back and see how a crowd would react when we'd bring on a new artist, because there's 2 different types of artists that I've seen. There's an artist that some people will listen to like on their headphones when they're walking back and forth from class, and when they see that artist live, they're not as likely to go crazy. They'll probably just stand there and they won't be as interactive, but they're kind of just there to just listen to the artist and just support. And then there's a different type of artist where when you go to their shows, you feel their presence. It's like you're there for something bigger than yourself, and you feel like you're a part of like a bigger community. And I feel like we were able to see that with a couple of those artists early on, and we kept bringing them on because we knew that if this artist is doing really well and he's getting the crowd to interact really well. What if we paired him on with 4 other artists that do that, and we made that show just specifically those 5 artists, and then just kept building and building off of that. So for example,
Absolutely.
like Coil Ray, right? You see like a lot of clips of her fans like at concerts. They're literally just standing there not doing anything. But I mean, her streams are crazy. She's one of the most streamed artists of all time. And so I do agree with you. I think more people need to analyze like in-show audiences, and you know, we're always so focused on like the digital aspect of it. I think, you know, going in person plays a big role too.
Yeah, that's the huge thing for me too. Like I've always had my like give and take with like audiences, like especially after COVID. Like it's a different vibe, but like I mean, for example, like I went to Moonrise a few years ago, and I personally, I don't know if it was just me, but I didn't really enjoy being an audience member overall there. Like I liked the music and I liked the overall vibe, but I felt like I one like a fish in the sea kind of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas like in smaller venues or like, you know, more mid-sized things, like I feel like I'm really like in there, like in a kind of like in the same space as the artist, not just like sectioned off in like a football field size audience.
Yeah, trust me, I know.
Yeah, and like it's just such a weird, and you know, it's like it's such a phenomenon. You know, you're like standing next to a person, you have no idea who they are, but you're just like, yeah, it's so interesting. Honestly, we just need like a camera looking back, just like
yeah, I agree.
Don't film the artist, film the audience.
You'll see some funny stuff. I went to the first ever Rolling Loud in New York. And
oh wow,
dude, when I went over there, man, the energy was so different. Like, and it's cool because, like you said, I was analyzing like the audiences. You could tell, like what type of people supported what type of artists. And what I mean by that is like when a Lil Uzi would come on, right? Man, people were pushing and shoving and punching each other because he has that cult fan base.
Yeah,
right? But then when like a Travis Scott would come on, people would do that too, but like in a kinder way. They'd be pushing and shoving, like, oh, but I'm sorry. Because like they're used to it, you know what I'm saying? Like Uzi just started coming on and like doing more shows at the time, so like his fans were just getting used to it. But with Travis Scott, man, he's been having his fans like, you know, do these mosh pits and go crazy at shows for a very, very long time. So these Travis Scott fans are used to it. And then I remember, bro, there was just like so many fights, there was so many mosh pits. It was a great time overall. And there's actually Rolling Loud going on right now in Miami, and I wish I was there, but my boy actually sold my ticket. So, you know, I'm watching from afar, but shout out to everybody who's there right now.
Live it up.
Yeah, man.
Live it up. Yeah. Did you, I saw that Travis Scott documentary. I forget how long ago that came out, but I thought it was on Netflix or something like that. And they had videos of the mosh pits.
Crazy.
And police showing up and them going nuts.
Yeah, it was nuts. I mean, Travis Scott is one of those artists, like I said beforehand, when you're at one of his shows, you feel like you're a part of something way bigger.
Yeah. And I mean, I like, speaking of like following, you know, I think a lot of trends that, especially on like Instagram, like Snapchat, just overall social media, like, they really do, I feel like, follow after the big artists of our time. Like, I think with Astroworld, Travis Scott, like a lot of people kind of like, I don't even know how I could describe kind of just the vibe. Maybe Tyler, the Creator, is like a better example, you know, like Tyler has a lot of like a fan base that like, people will post photos kind of like with similar fashion or like similar frame, like, and it's crazy. Like artists really do influence a lot of like the just lifestyle choices. And like, I mean, I think that's probably got to be a marketing concept of some kind.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. But I mean, it really is. It's so pervasive.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing is they're what's cool. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing cooler than a rapper. So everybody wants to be a rapper. You know, I wanted to be a rapper. Unfortunately, I'm trash. I can't make music, man. There's nothing cooler than being a rapper.
I'm glad you brought up Tyler too. Tyler is like great at branding. Like every album is just like he's the whole thing. Like he is that. The Weeknd's pretty good at it too. Like he just has a different color suit, and it's like a new album.
Yeah.
And that's
Kanye like, too. Obviously, it doesn't even have to be said, but like you can separate his music within a different era every single time. By the way he dresses, the way he acts. So
I feel like The Weeknd played a pretty big role in kind of this like more recent trend of like 80s kind of theme stuff, especially with like Blinding Lights, like with kind of like the old like retro kind of vibes and stuff. I don't know if that's a conspiracy theory. But yeah, like I feel like if you could like analyze that kind of trend in the more recent years, like I think he played a serious part in it.
I think he was inspired by Michael Jackson too. He even says himself that Michael Jackson is a big inspiration, and you'll see that in music. Like what you might think one person started, they took from somebody else like years before, and it always recycles just like fashion.
Yeah. Speaking of fashion, I was looking at the Clout Cloud's website and I saw the Get Cultured shirt. Are you guys still selling those?
We are. You're talking about the graphic with like the cloud and the
globe.
Yeah. So we have a bunch of Get Cultured shirts. So I wasn't sure which one you were talking about.
Yeah. Because I saw in your background too, you started as a fashion design major, right?
So that goes back to what I was saying. So I came into the art school and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I know I wanted to be involved in the music industry, but I didn't know how to do it. There was no programs for me to get involved, and I wasn't good enough to play an instrument or, be in the arts. So when I came into the arts, I was doing fashion, and I think the one day I realized that I didn't want to do it anymore was when I spent like 14 hours designing like hoodies that I didn't even care about. It was like Gymshark hoodies or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, this is like a full-time job. Like I can't even live my life. And I felt like by the time I'm done with school, I'm going to hate this shit. So I ended up leaving. And luckily, my major was 4 credits away from a marketing major. And then so I switched over to the business school. And then I switched over again to the interdisciplinary studies. And so this is something I recommend to every single VCU student that I know. The interdisciplinary studies is basically a program where you get to create your own major. So you get to pick 3 different focuses, 4 different focuses, or even 2, and combine them into one. So you get to hand pick what classes you want to take, and there's no restrictions on anything. And then at the end of the 4 years, you get to name your own major. And so, I just called it like entrepreneurial marketing because I put psychology, because like you said, you need to analyze like trends and stuff. And I think when you understand like the human psyche or like how people react to music or why they react to music, that can really help you with like, throwing good shows. If I don't understand what people want, how am I going to throw you a good show? And lastly, I wanted to get into more entrepreneurial classes because although you can't teach entrepreneurship really, you kind of have to like go out there and, seek it on your own. It was better than like taking biology. You know what I'm saying? So I combined those 3. And I think ever since I did that, I was so less stressed about school because I was finally learning about things that I personally enjoy. And I actually feel more proud because now when I have a degree, I'm like, okay, this is what I know that I'm really, really good at. And I get to show this now. I don't have a degree that I don't really care about. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like a lot of people are stuck in that. And there's a lot of people that I meet that say that they don't even use their degree. You know what I mean? So
that was like here. I think our stories like essentially were exactly the same. Like for coming in arts major, no idea what you want to do, want to work in the music industry. There isn't something to at our school that was available to help us. I mean, it's so crazy like how both of those stories and kind of those struggles like turn into a success. And like, I mean, I guess that is kind of like the entrepreneurial mind right there in a way that, like if something doesn't exist, you make it for yourself.
Yeah. And I mean, it's like, here's what I have to say about like entrepreneurial classes in school and stuff. It's like learning how to shoot a basketball like through a textbook, right? But you won't really be able to learn how to shoot like a basketball until you go out there on the court yourself and shoot that basketball. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like if you want to be an entrepreneur, your professor who learned about being an entrepreneur, who probably never started his own company or did anything, isn't going to be able to teach you that. Go out there and fail and learn. I'm not saying I'm this great entrepreneur. I'm not. I'm still failing and I'm learning, but I've learned so much more on my own and going out there rather than, through school. I can't tell you, I hope nobody from VCU is watching this, but I can't tell you a single thing I remember from any of my VCU classes. You know what I'm saying?
Likewise.
So
absolutely likewise. Yeah. I mean, and I would hope like anybody doing entrepreneurial stuff at the very least is going to, do some drop shipping or something like, it's just literally anything, anything.
Very right. Yeah.
Like it's easy now. It's very easy. Or, it's the barrier of entry is lower. I'll rephrase.
Oh, for sure.
Like that. Mm-hmm. One of the things I've been really curious about looking through the page and seeing the kind of growth that you guys have been doing. How do you guys, like how would you say that would be the best way to like measure a kind of popularity for an artist? Because like there's so many different, especially now, there's so many different channels to do it. There's like, you know, streams, because before it was like how many people are you know, buying your records and stuff like that. But now you have like Instagram followers, you have the sales from their records, but you also have streams. Like we were talking about the difference between like, you know, their audience versus just the number of people kind of streaming their thing digitally. What would you kind of say is like a good blend of that to kind of measure popularity, or is it just different for different people?
Okay, so I'm very biased because I throw a lot of shows, but like I said earlier, I don't want to contradict myself because sometimes so basically my version of popularity is if you can bring out a bunch of people to your show. I think if you can bring like 100 or 150, if you're like a local artist, or, you know, if you're a big artist and you're able to bring 10,000 or 20,000 people, that gauges your popularity, not your followers or not your likes or your engagement. It's about how you can connect to people and bring people out to come actually see you live, because a lot of people can get, you know, likes and followers and all that type of stuff. You could literally just throw up a post on World Star and now 1 million people saw your music. You know what I'm saying? That's just the record label doing a plug and play. That's not really a million fans. It's just 1 million views. When you have people coming out to your shows, those are fans. So that's my version of it. But then, like we said, there's also some artists that don't really have people come out to their shows and don't really present themselves as the type of artists that, you know, perform at shows. Sometimes like a person like NBA Youngboy, right? He's like on top of the streaming charts, but like I said earlier, when you go to his shows, he's not doing like the most crazy numbers. But somebody like Russ that people hate online, he has a terrible online presence, like overall. But bro, you go to his shows, bro, he's got 20, 30,000 people there. You go to like Scandinavia or like somewhere in Eastern Europe or like somewhere random, he's getting like 40,000, 50,000 people going there. And I don't know many other artists that could do that. You know what I'm saying? So that's my definition.
And I mean,
I guess
it feels like, especially with like the impacts of COVID, that like the music industry kind of like just had a really artificial phase of just like, you know, we were really only doing like, you know, just dropping music on streaming platforms, people getting big through TikTok or like other viral trends. But I mean, you see these viral songs and it's like they have, you know, a few, like their top 5 on Spotify, a couple million listens. And that doesn't really ensure like, you know, their albums are selling that well down the road or anything. Like, I think that really, that kind of perpetuity of artists, that comes from like live music or more enduring things like you were saying with Kanye. But no, I mean, it really does, I think, tie back to like how people feel when they're going out to see them. And I would totally agree with you. I think like, like if you have 1,000 or if you have 1 million streams on Spotify, but no one's going to see your concert, like that's a very short-lived thing. That feels like you're running an organization that no one wants to show up to work on. Like it's like you have the numbers, but the engagement is really huge too.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of artists that have like, you know, 100K or 50K, but they can bring in like 500 to 1,000 people to a show. And some artist with like 2 million, 3 million followers comes into like that same city and might not be able to do that, you know? So, yeah, I mean, my answer to that would just be strictly show presence and how many people you're able to bring out.
Yeah.
Yes. I think that's a pretty decent metric. I imagine during the pandemic, it'd be
really hard,
something hard to measure, of like how many theoretical people you could bring to a concert. But I think I like what Thomas said with like, there's a lot of viral TikToks that'll go off, that'll get, you know, somebody will hear something millions of times, but when it's time for people to actually, you know, pay tickets and show up and go nuts, that number is significantly smaller depending on the person.
Yeah, like there's been a lot of TikTok rappers coming out too. I feel like, although it's not the same platform as like SoundCloud, I think we're kind of like seeing that phase of like TikTok rappers, and it's very like synonymous at the time of like SoundCloud rappers. And I think it's really cool because TikTok is literally building careers right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm biased at all. I probably am, but so I'm going to be going to Lala right next week, and I'm looking at the lineup, and I'm like, okay, I know Tyler, I know like the big headliners, but then when I'm looking, because I want to be there for the whole day, I'm going only for one, and I want to like, you know, see as much as I can. And I'm looking at some of the names on there, and I'm like, I know this name from one song from TikTok, and like that's it. But that, just because it's so catchy, like so many of the TikTok songs are just so catchy. Like that's enough for me to be like, you know what, I'm gonna go to this person's show over like Mick Jenkins or someone who it's like I used to know like one or two of their songs. And a big thing for me too is like, I think if they have that huge like TikTok presence, like who knows what the audience is like. I mean, maybe it's going to be a really fun time. Maybe it's going to be everyone filming it. But it's kind of a newer thing for me where, I mean, I feel like TikTok really blew up during COVID. I feel like it really started getting its footing a few months before it, but like everyone was locked in the house, either watching TikToks or making them. Like it's now such a huge part. And yeah, I don't know, that tangent on my part, my bad.
Yeah, it's a big part of the music industry now. Like, imagine how weird that must feel for like label execs to come in and be like, all right, we need to start making TikToks. Like, think about it. Imagine like an old 80-year-old like billionaire coming in. And they got like a bunch of people in the room and they're like, yeah, so DaBaby needs to start making TikToks tomorrow. Like, it's crazy.
Do you know that's a thing? They're definitely like that conversation has happened in every single boardroom. They're like, all right, I guess we got to make TikToks.
Yeah, and like now we're kind of like used to it, but like you guys remember the stigma around TikTok like before quarantine, like people clowned on it all the time. Bro, I swore that I would never get on that app. During quarantine, I was addicted. Like I was on it 24/7.
Yeah. The beginning of the end, honestly.
And I think Facebook, although Facebook doesn't own TikTok, I think they're the ones that opened up that kind of, they made it more and less weird to advertise on social media with advertising on Facebook and Instagram. Because I think getting over that hurdle, like Facebook, you know, allowing and becoming this huge advertising platform, paved the way for, once TikTok blew up, everybody's like, all right, we're switching to TikTok.
TikTok,
that's the new thing to start advertising on. Because like now it's not weird for companies to be on a social media platform anymore. That's very normal. It's something we're used to.
Yeah, I mean, bro, it's just because of the fact that like nobody's watching like TV commercials anymore. Like we have a phone in our hand. Like I can't remember the last time I watched like a TV commercial, or even like when I'm on like YouTube, I don't tend to like watch those types of ads, but the ads that I always pay attention to are either like Instagram ads or like TikTok ads, like Snapchat ads, just because I have no choice. And that's where I spend like a majority of my time on. And so I think like if you're a big company, like you would be stupid to not, you know, put a majority of your money in there. And the problem is that a lot of these bigger companies, like especially the corporate companies, they're very traditional when it comes to their marketing. And the problem is that when you put up like $1 million to put Coca-Cola like on a bunch of billboards like all over the US, I'm sure it's way more, but like I'm just saying, for example, let's say you put like $1 million, you're not really able to track how many people saw it or how many people went and bought something after they saw that billboard. The great thing about using social media and like Facebook ads and Snapchat ads is, like we said, the data. So when, you know, you put like $10 or $1 million or $100 million, you're able to see how long somebody spent on that ad, what they did when they clicked on the website, if they bought a product or not. And I think that's way more valuable. And what I'm trying to get at is, like, if you're a smaller creator or a smaller brand, you should get on these ads now before all these big corporate companies start, you know, throwing in even more billions and billions of dollars, and, you know, the ad prices or like the ad share starts going up. Because right now, like, you can put an ad up and reach a certain amount of people for a cheaper price than you will like a year or 2 years from now, because more and more people are spending more and more money into it. Do you guys get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. I mean, it's a more, I guess, democratized way to advertise.
Yeah.
Like, and everyone's on their phone.
Because once companies start getting in, that's when the price like skyrockets.
That's what I'm trying to get at. So what I'm trying to tell people back home is, like, if you're an artist, utilize Facebook ads as much as you can now, because if you don't now, it's going to be worth 2 or 3 times more.
Yeah, and they're already starting to get more and more expensive. I mean, they're cheap, like just for an ad. Like I think Instagram ads, the ones that I've ever made, are always like $30 for a week, and you guarantee that you're going to see like several thousand views or something like that. But like they could be a lot more expensive.
Yeah, I think it could get to a point where like you put like $100 and you're not even reaching like 200 people. Yeah. Not now, but like, you know, 20, 30 years from now, when people like start to put all their funding towards like, you know, digital marketing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's especially for like the you know, as they get more and more clever for making people look at the ads, like you said, the ones you pay attention to are always like the TikTok, the Snapchat ones, the ones you like can't get away from.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that you like see. Like when I see an ad on YouTube, I'm like, all right, wait, I skip.
Yeah.
When's as soon as I can skip this ad? But they won't let you skip the Snapchat, TikTok.
Yeah, bro. I'm on Snapchat. I'm sitting there. I'm like, okay, well, yeah, GoPuff. That's cool. Like, I might have to use GoPuff.
I can't imagine if it was like a local rapper or something like that was on there. Like that would be insane. I mean, that would,
Well,
like,
that's what I'm saying. I feel like you could stick out. Like you'd be like, what the? Because I see that like every now and then. Like I'll get a YouTube ad, and the only YouTube ad that sticks out to me is when it's by like some random, like really small, like independent artist. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is pretty cool. I'll check it out. But if I see the same old, Walmart ad, I'm just gonna breeze through it. So
it's literally off-putting. Like I'll just mute it. Like,
yeah,
I'd rather not.
Exactly.
Especially like, yeah, it's definitely that like the corporate ones and they always like play music to try to get your attention too.
Oh
like,
yeah,
this music's awful.
So
yeah, like, local artists and stuff, advertising with that thing would definitely be like a game changer. Like especially making that mainstream for artists to start advertising on these kind of platforms.
I could be uneducated, but I feel like that's such an untapped into like just space as well. Like you have so many jobs that come in, like producing, like writing copy, or like branding, like so much that goes into that you could just, if it's on a more local scale, I mean, sure, you could use other like services, but I mean, I feel like that would also generate a lot of like, or tap into a lot of local talent, which would be really cool to see.
Oh, I think the main problem with it is that like we're all uneducated about it. Like we come in and like that's not the first thing you learn about in school. Right. Like as an artist, right? Like if you're a rapper and you're trying to take this seriously, it's like where are you going to go to even learn about that? The only thing you really hear about is like, okay, you can blow up on TikTok, or you can get like a no jumper interview, or like you could just start posting on Instagram every day and hope for the best. There's no like foundation for like artists to be like, all right, well, look, you need to learn how to analyze data. You need to learn Facebook ads. You need to learn this, because you don't need a record label. You could do it all yourself. I mean, you have a computer or like even like a phone right in front of you, and that phone could literally change your life and make you millions. But if you're not using it the right way, then you can't. But like we said, there's nowhere for you to go. I barely even know how to put up a Snapchat ad right now, and that's probably bad. That's an untapped market that I should probably be getting into. But maybe I might have to do that after this podcast.
Yeah. Well, there you go. You have your next.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I might have to promote the next festival, I guess, on Snapchat. So hopefully by the time this podcast is out, y'all are just getting spammed with festival ads on Snapchat,
For sure. And kind of staying on the same topic, what are some of the key things that you've seen so far that people have been using that have been successful? You already mentioned like using social media ads better could be a way to kind of increase it, but what's so far of the artists you've worked with that
you're talking about like specifically like Instagram ads and stuff? Like what works for them?
Instagram ads, or just advertising and just growing in general, like different ways of growing in the music industry?
Okay, I love this question, just because with Clout Cloud we do a lot of promotions too, which is something I didn't really get into. It's not like one of the biggest revenue streams, but it's something that brings in a little bit of money. And what we do is like we work with like a bunch of different artists, and obviously we can't do the same type of promo for every single artist. And one thing I try to let all of them know is like, if we're going to put up a promo post, I don't want to just put up like your music out there and be like, okay, new music out now, go check it out. There's no story to that. There's no, I feel no emotion when I read that. I'm just skipping through. It's the same thing as referring back to like when you said you're on YouTube, you put it on mute. It's like at this point, you're just so used to seeing ads that it's like muscle memory. All right, let me turn this off. Or, oh, just another rapper like self-promoting, so let me skip through. And I was having this talk. I had a call with my boy Infamous G, and he's a rapper, and he just dropped his debut single. He had like this whole rebrand, and what he was doing was basically posting like a countdown every single day. And it was like, all right, so we're 2 weeks away from the single dropping, we're 1 week from the single dropping, we're 5 days from the single dropping. And he called me, he's like, bro, it's like, I don't know why my engagement is going down, and I hope he's cool with me sharing this combo. But shout out to him. And he told me, he's like, bro, my engagement is going down. It's like, well, why is this happening? Like, this has never happened before. I said, well, A, you're posting so much, and B, I feel like you're not being personal about it. Like, to answer your question, one of the three things for me is to be very personal. When you have an ad out there, people can see through that shit, man. Don't try to be fake and like act like it's not an ad. Be straight up. hey, this is an ad, or hey, I'm dropping my single and I'm really stressed out about it and I don't know if it's going to do well or whatever, but it would mean a lot if you guys could check this out for me. This song means this to me. I went through a very traumatic time and I put my heart and soul into it. And this represents when I was in a very different, dark time in my life. And I want you guys to be able to feel that and realize that you can get out of that too by listening to that song. So now I told you my own personal story and you were able to understand how much that meant to me in an ad rather than me just saying, hey, check out my new music. So first off, I'd say just get personal, let people know about your life. Second off, be funny or make fun of yourself. So what you'll see, especially on a lot of these rap accounts, is the rappers that tend to do the best, like promo wise and engagement wise, is not like the most talented rapper. Like we could post like a fire rapper on our page or any other page, and they might gain like maybe like a couple thousand followers or a couple hundred followers from it. But when you get a rapper that's kind of like super controversial or just super funny, everybody's checking out their page and you see like a huge spike in like the engagement. So for example, we had this one artist and he kind of reminded people of like Lil Pump, and I guess they didn't really like him. And like we say, all publicity is good publicity. And bro, he got like 7,000 followers within like the first like 8 hours because he was pretending to be like a scam rapper and he was acting like he was like Lil Pump and 6ix9ine, and they're like, this guy's such a clown. But he's such a clown that I have to know what he's going to do next. And so they follow. And so he's been somebody that we've been working with a lot. And so first off, I'd say get personal. Second, if you don't want to get personal, just be funny, or I guess be hated in a way. Maybe that's not good advice, but that tends to do really, really well. And then lastly, I'd say be consistent, because I read this in a book somewhere, and I don't want to say the name or get it wrong, but I do remember this one quote that said, the first time you put out an ad, like on social media, it won't translate well. The second time you do it, it won't translate well. The third time you won't do it, it won't translate well. It won't translate until like the 7th or 8th time. So people have to get really familiar with what you're doing and see your face a lot in order to support you. Because if there's no trust, people aren't going to check you out or even give you the time of day. So one way you can develop trust with like your supporters or people that you know is obviously by being truthful or being personal, but also by being consistent and putting yourself out there a lot. So for example, you're more likely to support some random artist you've seen handing out flyers every single day this past week, rather than some kid who just comes up to you, you know, yesterday. He's like, hey man, I got some new music. You want to check it out? You know what I'm saying? Granted, there are some outliers and it's not set in stone. It's not black and white. But a majority of the time you are more likely to support somebody that you see more often. So I'd say be personal, be funny or controversial, or, you know, lastly, I guess, just be very consistent.
Yeah, I think with the example that you show, that the person out there every day, it also just shows that like how dedicated they are. Like this person is really putting, like, this is something they mean. This is not somebody just like making something real quick and trying to get rich real fast. Yeah. Kind of going off the entrepreneur example earlier, it's like versus some guy who's making their own product, like building their own product, versus somebody who's trying to drop ship and get rich really quickly.
Exactly. Yeah.
you even if the products like might look the same, like the fact that you see the amount of effort this person's putting in makes you like gravitate towards that kind of person.
Yeah, of course. I mean, like the more you work towards something, the more people will respect it. And even if they don't understand it, they're at least giving you props. You know what I'm saying? I've seen it with like my own brand. Like I remember when I first started, you know, people were like, why the hell is he just posting like a bunch of blog posts? Like, and why does he keep telling me about this everywhere I go? Because like they would get to a point where I was on campus, and some people still hit me up about this to this day. Every time I was in the library, I'd have a Sharpie or like a pencil and I'd write at the Clout Cloud everywhere. And I was super annoying because of it. And I know I will never do that again. But at the time I was so hungry, I wanted to just like tag it everywhere I went. So even when I went to the bathroom, I'd be like at the sink, and I'd just look up and I'd have like a pencil in my hand and I'd just write at the Clout Cloud. So whenever somebody's going to wash their hands, the first thing they see is like, the hell wrote this? They're like, I got to check this out. And so I did that everywhere I went. And then I remember there used to be like a chalkboard in the middle of the BCU campus. And I went, and this is actually kind of messed up, but I erased a bunch of like the random stuff that everybody had written. And it wasn't anything bad. People were just writing like funny stories and stuff. BCU asked you to like write a funny story or like a funny saying or whatever. And so there was a bunch of random stuff. I just erased it, and then I put at the Clout Cloud in like big letters. So as soon as like you walk towards campus, that's the first thing you see. And it was super cool because as soon as I started doing that, like a lot more people on the team started doing it. And just random people just started writing it all over the place. And to this day, I'll have like people like DM me and they're like, "Hey man, I saw this username like in the Capitol Library, like on the second floor." And I'm like, "Oh really? That's crazy. Thanks, man." He's like, "Yeah, just drop it, follow, keep going." And so that's what it's about, man. It's like in the beginning, people were like, "What's going on?" But like the more they got to see me like working towards this and see that I was really passionate about it, the more they got to respect it, whether or not they understood it or not.
I felt that one with I felt that one hit deep within the loop. We basically, or at least I basically spam a lot of people about it.
Sure, you got to, man. And I wanted to spend a little bit of this podcast like talking more about what you guys do too, because I think it's super cool. And I wanted to talk about something off air, like an idea I had for y'all. But yeah, you guys want to talk more about In the Loop as well, or did you guys have more stuff for me?
No, yeah, I think we're about at an hour, so we can go over In the Loop real quick and then kind of wrap up and then spend a little time afterwards, and you can tell us any of the stories off air.
Okay, bet.
But for In the Loop, what we're doing is I guess the quick one sentence description is it's basically like TikTok and SoundCloud combined into one. So it's a platform for artists to post any samples or loops that they've created, you know, just something short, nothing like a full piece, but like 5 seconds to 30 seconds, maybe a minute max, for them to be able to swipe through and find other artists to collaborate with. So they can post stuff and also go on other artists' feed and try to find people to make a full piece with. And so right now it's starting with, we have a Discord out right now, which there's going to be a link in the description of the podcast to join the Discord, for people to put samples and get feedback up right now. But the end goal really is to get this app up and running, which we have beta testers for right now, which in the Discord, you can ask to be a beta tester, and get beta tester access to the app, which I'm developing. And it's a lot of fun. We're working with, most of the team does music. So obviously, you know, Thomas, who just joined recently, but me and the co-founder, Chris Estes, he has been producing on the side, you know, for years now. And his biggest thing was, I don't have people to work with. He's like, I'm having trouble finding people to collaborate with. And he's like, I have hard drives full of loops that are like 30 seconds long. And he's like, I don't know. He's like, I want somebody to make them into a full piece with, but I can't find people. So I was like,
I will get y'all to do that, or I will hit up Chris, I guess, and I have the perfect guy for him.
Perfect. Yeah, because he's great. Yeah, he's awesome. He's in the Discord too. He was on the last podcast. The last podcast was me, Chris, and Thomas. And after the podcast, Thomas joined the team.
Man, Tom, I know Thomas probably doesn't want to talk about himself, but this man is a GOAT, man. I'm not going to say too much about him, but, you know, he's done a lot as well. He's founded the Music Industry Club, and he makes a lot of, like, behind-the-scenes moves that people don't even know about. Like, we brought on a lot of speakers, guests for the Music Industry Club, and he's also one of the most talented people, like, musically that I know. So
I appreciate it.
He's so good. You sent me a Snapchat video. You sent me a Snapchat video of you playing piano, and it was good. I was like, holy shit, dude.
I actually recorded piano totally out the random or out of the blue for one of my good friends, David Ellis. I don't know if you know him. He's been working on a lot of music, and I worked on a 5-minute long piano track for him. And it was just, I mean, I'm a music major, so it's fun to just like play out. But I mean, yeah, when it comes down to the end of the day, like I love being on making those moves, making those things happen like on a large scale. That's where the business comes in.
Yeah, exactly. I think David Ellis is somebody to look out for too. Like that, he is very talented, and he's going to be at the festival as well. So he's going to be performing.
Yeah.
And I guess I could give you all the flyer too, so you guys can post it up just so people could see like the artists that are going to be there.
Perfect.
But yeah, no, I think In the Loop, trying just to get back on topic, I think In the Loop is like a great idea, man. Like, you guys are literally like paving the way for, like I said, like a lot of like, you know, people that are in the music industry that are more like behind the scenes for like, you know, producers, engineers, like, or A&Rs, anybody like behind the scenes. And I think that's something like we all need to work on as a collective, because there's a lane for rappers, you know, to go to. Like, people know what to kind of do, maybe not to the full extent of like what a label could do for an artist, but like as a producer and like a A&R, or like, you know, engineer, like I've been saying multiple times throughout this podcast, is like, bro, where do you really go from, you know, making like your beats or your loops, what's like the next step, you know?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
you got to know somebody,
Of course.
unfortunately.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. Using this app, you can find somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
You can find that person to know. Well, Ilias, thank you for being on the podcast. I feel like it's just been like, it was inevitable that you and I were gonna like have a conversation at some point, because I know so many people who have talked to me about you. I know I'm really good friends with Brian, who
I
talks
love
about
that
the
man.
Clout
Yeah,
lot.
Yeah,
He is huge about it. And Thomas has
Yeah.
talked about you. Chris has talked about you. I finally got you on the podcast.
Yeah, man. I'm so glad that you guys had me on, man.
Yeah, it's great. And it's for the end, what would you like to shout out? Obviously, the Clout Cloud at the Clout Cloud on Instagram and Twitter and everything.
Man, screw all that, man. I want to shout out Joe. I want to shout out Gabe. I want to shout out Almira. I want to shout out Sheet. Actually, let me get the whole list, man. I want to shout out everybody that's just been a part of the process. You know, I could talk about the brand and all that, but like, it's not even me who, you know, it deserves all the credit. There's a lot of people that played like a very, very big role in me getting here. Brian, especially, man, that guy was talking his ass off, telling everybody like every single day. You know what I'm saying? Like, on top of me writing it everywhere, he was going around telling the whole campus. So I want to see if I can find the old chat, and I just want to shout out everybody.
I can confirm Brian did talk about it a lot.
Yeah, he
talked
did
about it so much.
I want to shout out Eric, Philip, Gabe, Amelia, David, Jacob, Shido, Husto, Joseph, Brian, Joe, Phil. I said his names twice now. Dunya. And I guess that's it for right now. Pedro, Alex, Nicole. And forgive me if I forgot anybody else, but you are appreciated. You guys know, like I said, Clout Cloud, whatever. Look it up on social media. You guys can find it there. But other than that, I think it's pretty much it. Awesome. Yeah, send us that list. We'll put it in the description. And just thank everybody for listening. I think we're done.